Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to Atlanta Grill Company. Today I'm going to fire up the Kamado Joe Jr. I haven't shown that guy any love in a long time, so let's fire up the Junior and cook a big Boston butt. Let's get started. We've got this nice big 8.5 pound butt, and this guy doesn't need a whole lot of trimming, but I'm going to season this guy up nice and liberally today with the Atlanta Grill Company Georgia butts and ribs. So let's get that going. And after I get a nice liberal coat of this rub on there, you can let this sit for a few minutes and let that adhere, or you can do what I like to do. I'm going to wrap this guy up in plastic wrap and let it go in the refrigerator overnight to let that seasoning go to work, and we'll be back in the morning. We're going to get the fire lit in our Joe Jr. I'm going to use one of the Fogo fire starters today, and I'm just going to set my charcoal basket in on top of that. I've got my kick ash basket here filled up with charcoal and some peach wood chunks. And then I'm just going to set my rack in here with the heat deflector and set my grill grate on top. And I'm going to let that burn here with the lid open for about 10 minutes. And after I've had that lid open, we're going to go ahead and close it. I'm going to set the bottom vent open about 1 inch. And I'm going to set the daisy wheel fully open at these small holes on the top. And we're going to watch the temperature come up. And I'm shooting for a temperature today of around 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, our Kamado Joe Jr. here is up to about 250 on its way to 300. So I'm going to go ahead, open it up. We're going to slide this butt right on there. It's an 8.5 pounder. I'm going to cook fat cap down. So we're going to close this up, and I'm going to start my timer, and we're going to continue to monitor the temp. And I'm going to come back here and show you a couple of times how I'm going to adjust my vents. I've got the vents right where I set them before, and we're just going to have a look at this again probably in about an hour, because this grill is going to cool a little bit. Okay, we've been going along here almost an hour. You can see by my timer here, and the temperature on my dome thermometer is showing about 280. So it hasn't changed enough to do much with it, so I'm going to let it keep on going, and I'm going to watch it. I'm going to come back and look at it again in about 30 minutes. We've been going another half an hour, and I accidentally reset my timer the last time we looked at this, so we need to add an hour to that. We've been going a total of 1 hour and 27 minutes. My dome thermometer there is sitting at about 300 degrees, so I'm not going to touch anything, and I'm going to come check it again in another half an hour to see if we need any vent adjustments. We've been going a total here of 2 hours, and my grill's sitting tight there at 300 degrees, so I'm going to let it go for another hour to 1 hour and a half before we open it up to have a look at our bark. We've been cruising along here for almost 4.5 hours, and this thing's holding rock solid at 300 degrees, exactly where I want it. And this Boston butt's looking pretty good. The bark's not quite where I want it yet, so we're going to let it go another 30 minutes, maybe even an hour. So we'll be back. And we're just passing the 6-hour mark here, and we're going to pop this guy open and have a look. We should be close on our bark. Oh yeah, that's looking good. I'm happy with the way that bark looks. I'm going to get this guy off. We're going to wrap it in foil and finish it in the foil. Okay, I have double wrapped this guy in aluminum foil. We're going to put it back on there, and I'm probably going to give it 2 hours before we come back and look at it again. Okay, we are at the 7.5 hour mark here, and I'm going to take a peek and see what we're looking like here tenderness wise to see if this butt's ready. It looks really good. and man, that thing is really probing pretty tender. I'm kind of glad I checked it before the 8-hour mark, but it's got a little bit more to go. I'm going to wrap that back up, and I'm going to give it probably 15 or 20 more minutes, maybe another half hour, and then we'll be back. Okay guys, we are just about 8 hours into this. We're just a few minutes shy of 8 hours. I am going to take this out and I'm going to put it in the cooler, and I'm probably going to let it rest for 2 hours before we pull it apart. Okay, I've let this rest. It actually rested for just a little over 2 hours, and we're going to take this apart and have a look at it as soon as I quit dropping stuff all over the place. We're going to unwrap this, and we yank that bone out of there. That guy comes out nice and clean, and you can see this is still steaming hot after it's been resting. Actually 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I'm going to get the foil out of the way, and we'll just tear this guy apart. You know, it's going to really come apart nicely. Got a nice bark on there, and I like to get started here just by, you know, starting a little bit with my hands, and then I like to get the bear paws and come in here. I need to put something under this hotel pan, keep it from sliding around, but I like to use these bear paws to shred this pork, and this has just come out beautiful. Can you see that smoke ring? A nice deep smoke ring on this pork, and this is as tender as it gets. You won't find one that gets much tenderer than that. It's an absolutely perfect cook, and we cooked this all on the Joe Jr. And if you noticed, I didn't use any electronics. I didn't even use a meat thermometer. We just cooked it by sight. You know, I cooked it until I thought the bark looked good, and then we finished it up in the foil until it was probe tender. And this butt weighed in at 8.5 pounds when we started, and we ran it at 300 degrees for most of the cook, and everything came out perfect. So guys, the Joe Jr. is a perfect grill for cooking a Boston butt. It's efficient, and I'm going to put up a picture here on the screen to show you how much coal I had left after that cook. And it doesn't look like a lot, but I took my rake and put all that coal in a pile there in the middle of the grill, and opened the vents up and let that grill come up to about 550 degrees to go ahead and burn it out. So there was plenty of coal left to do that. And cooking a Boston butt doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to have a lot of fancy tools. And like I said, as you see, I didn't even use a meat thermometer. So guys, give this a try. Until next time, this is John Setzler with Atlanta Grill Company.